Hey, it's Roger Henderson, and we are at the Wbob Political Hobnob. And joining us is candidate for sheriff, Matt Nemeth. How are you today?
Great, Roger. How are you?
Wonderful. Okay, you're running for sheriff, obviously. Very important role, keeping our streets as safe as possible. Tell us about yourself, your background, and why you'd make a great sheriff.
I want to be a police officer since I was 3 years old. I had the good fortune to start my law enforcement career in 1987 down in Fort Lauderdale. I was down there 10 years in corrections and in patrol and in SWAT. Then my wife and I moved up here in 1996 and were blessed to be hired by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, where I continued that career for 25 years. As I was getting close to retirement, I saw what was going on around our country, and it was getting worse and worse. And I said, you know, I can go off into my sunset years of after 34 years in law enforcement, or I can stay in the fight. And that's what I've chosen to do, is stay in the fight to make our city safer.
Yeah. How specifically can a sheriff make the city safe? I know under Mike Williams we've added technologies and the shot spotter system, for example, and other things like that. What can you do as sheriff to actually mitigate crime and to make people more safe when they're living their lives?
A couple things. Number one is you have to have a sheriff who's passionate about doing the job. If you don't have someone who's engaged in the issues of the community, you're not even going to have a chance in making it safer. But there are things that have been proven strategies, and then there are other things that we're doing right now that are just not really showing any type of success.
Okay.
We can't be afraid to say this didn't work. Let's go on to what's next. And so as sheriff, I believe in the technologies that we have brought on over the last 10 years. I can absolutely continue to invest in those. But there are other things like our faith-based community that we can embrace at a stronger level to bring them into the nuclear neighborhoods, into a micro level, and have them going door to door and other contacts. That is really about giving people hope. That's what elections are in general, if you think about it. People want to know that if they elect you, that there's going to be a brighter tomorrow. Also, out of the 67 counties, we're the only consolidated government in all of Florida. As a result, there is no other law enforcement agency in Duval County. If we elect a bad sheriff, there's no one else that people can turn to. So it's critically important that we get this election correct and elect the candidate that is passionate, that has a vision for where we are and where we want to go, and then has a strategic plan of how we're going to get there. And that person is me.
Okay, wonderful. I was speaking with Congressman John Rutherford, of course, former sheriff for Duval County, and he said something real interesting, that when kids would get in trouble, one of the things they had to do was report to the school resource officer on a regular basis, just to make sure he was keeping, staying on the straight and narrow, so to speak. But interestingly, very often, after that requirement had ended, those young guys continued to report back to their student resource officer, craving mentoring from a male authority figure. Is there a role to expand the way in which our police officers interact with our young people who very often come from situations where there's really no real positive role model in their lives?
I had the privilege, under Sheriff Rutherford actually, of being the executive director of the Police Athletic League. So I saw exactly what you're talking about. Big Brothers and Big Sisters are 200, on average, 200 men behind in trying to fill requests for young men mentors. So that is a critical need throughout our community. All the businesses and all the sheriff's offices that can provide that do an immeasurable service. But it speaks to the bigger issue. And the bigger issue is that we don't have men in the homes. We have over 1,000 nonprofits in our city, and not one of them is focused on family reunification and about bringing conflict resolution skills for the men to bring them back into active involvement with their families. As we well know, young girls will more likely select a father, or a husband rather, who resembles a strong father figure. They're also less likely to get pregnant. Young boys are less likely to be arrested and to commit unlawful activities when there's a father in and involved in the home. So that is a critical component to have in a vibrant community that we want to have in Jacksonville.
Should it be left to the volunteer community to fill that need, or do you even, and I know it may be controversial, but do you see that there could even be a compensated compensation component to that mentoring, which is so important to make your job as sheriff, if you're elected, easier?
It does. It's really a hybrid, because we couldn't do enough. If we filled that entire need, it would be robbing Peter to pay Paul. There would be calls for service that we wouldn't be able to accomplish. We're 300 officers short on the agency right now. But with that said, the sheriff has a bully pulpit to bring a lot of these issues, homelessness, mental health, and the issues that we're talking about now, to the forefront and give them a priority that they may not otherwise receive. And allowing officers to go out and supervisors to go out for an hour once a week is something we've done for years, and I fully support that.
Wonderful. How can people get in touch with you and learn more about your campaign?
MattNemethForSheriff.com is my website. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I have videos on YouTube, which are positional videos that express my positions on issues of concern in the community.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt Nemeth.
Thank you, Roger.
Candidate for Sheriff Duval County. Thank you for being at the Hobnob.
My pleasure.
All right. Crushed it.